Hello, Husker fans. Sam McKewon and the bunker here in Lincoln are preparing for the Snowmageddon that is going to hit on Saturday morning, right before Nebraska kicks off against Purdue. I'm kidding, sort of. This is the Three Keys on Zoom. Hello, everybody. Sam McKewon with the Omaha World-Herald and Husker Extra. Usually we're in the studio and I get to use all my arm movements, and now they'll just be outside of the screen as we talk about the Nebraska-Purdue game. The Huskers obviously 4-3 heading into this game. Purdue kind of an unsightly 2-5 as they come to Lincoln. One thing that I will say about Purdue is that if you gave Purdue's schedule to Nebraska, I wouldn't be surprised if Nebraska was 3-4, 2-5 as well. That's because Purdue played Fresno State, Virginia. They went to Virginia Tech. They played Syracuse, and then they go into league play. And so far, they've played Wisconsin, Iowa, Illinois, and Ohio State. Now, how many of those teams do you think Nebraska would have beaten? That's a good question. So 2-5 records are not all made the same. And this 2-5 Purdue team is a heck of a lot better than the 3-3 Northwestern team from last week. I suspect that Purdue would be about a 10 to 14 point favorite against Northwestern. So keep that in mind as you think about Purdue's record. This is a team that's got good football players on the offensive side of the ball. They're rebuilding a little bit on the defensive side of the ball, but this is a pretty darn good team. Hudson Card is their quarterback. He's probably the best of the transfer quarterbacks. I would say that on some level, they have better running backs than Nebraska, and Devin Mockabee and Tyrone Tracy. The receivers are decent. They got a decent offensive line. Defensively, they're still trying to transition to that sort of man-to-man pressure scheme that's preferred by their new head coach, Ryan Walters. But this is not going to be an easy game by any means. And of course, that weather is going to play a factor, right? We're going to get down in the 30s probably. There could be some precipitation, could be sleet, could be rain, could be snow, could be the 91 Oklahoma-Nebraska game again, could be the 96 Nebraska-Colorado game again, could be the 2018 Nebraska-Illinois game again. I don't know what we're going to get. Probably not 86 Kansas State, but you just never know in this strange weather time. So here we go. Key number one to winning this game: hit the jab, stick the jab. And by the jab, what I mean is, yes, Nebraska wants to get some more explosive plays. They want to hit haymakers. Those things are important to them. But simultaneously, Nebraska needs to churn out some first downs. This is a game where I'd say it'd be really good if Nebraska can eat some time off the clock, hold it for 32 or 33 minutes, and get 20 first downs. 20 is a number. Right now, Nebraska is below that in terms of its average. If they were to get up to 20, I feel like they'd hold on to the ball for 33 or 34 minutes. And that's a recipe for victory, I think, in this particular game. The weather's going to be cold. It's going to favor a team that can run the football and has a mobile quarterback. This is probably going to be a game where Heinrich Haarberg is going to have to, kick some butt a little bit and run the ball quite a bit. I just wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. But this is one of those games, again, where you've got to get a manageable third downs. Try to make sure that if it's on first and second down, you're getting a couple of yards so that you're getting in 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, so that you can convert those. So this is a game where I'd say 20 first downs and maybe a 40 to 45% third down conversion rate would be sweet. That's kind of what you're wanting here. Something along the lines of a 6 for 15 or a 7 for 15, somewhere in that area. If you're able to do that, I think you're going to hold on to the football and you're going to keep hitting that jab, right? You're not necessarily going to be, dominant in other areas. You may not hit a bunch of 40-yard plays, but you're going to keep the ball and you're going to keep Purdue's offense off the field. That's key number one. Key number two: don't get mocked. And by that, I mean Devin Mockabee. I like this guy. I think he's a good running back for Purdue. He's probably going to end up somewhere close to 1,000. He might end up below that because Tyrone Tracy, who is a converted receiver who originally transferred from Iowa, is kind of coming on. And I think he plays quite a bit too. Purdue actually has a nice 1-2 punch in the run game that's designed by Graham Harrell. He's an air raid guy, but the air raid can run the football, and the air raid is running the football at Purdue. This is probably the best run game they've had in a while. Probably you'd have to go back a ways. I don't know how far you go back, but you'd probably go back to the time in between Joe Tiller and Darrell Hazel, the Danny Hope era or something like that. They're running the ball at Purdue, and they're probably going to come in and try to run the football against Nebraska, even though Nebraska does a really good job of stopping that. I think Nebraska's probably going to see some run game. Purdue does a lot of different things. They're able to run a little zone. They're able to run a little bit of power. And Maccabee, I'll tell you what, he gets to the second level, and he will run over guys. And that's something that he's capable of doing. And Nebraska's going to have to tackle him well. He's a built guy. Walk on last year, kind of filleted Nebraska last year. Purdue ran for 217 yards against the Huskers last year. And it won't surprise me if they get 150 on Saturday. And that may sound surprising to people because that would be double what Nebraska is allowing. But I suspect some of these teams down the stretch are going to try to run the ball on Nebraska a little bit more and just say, all right, let's see what we got. I think they probably watched Northwestern do that, and Northwestern had some success. And I think Purdue might have some success too. So don't get mocked. Don't let this guy get to the second level and run you over. Don't let Tyrone Tracy get loose because that's a fast guy. That is an elite athlete. Tyrone Tracy played receiver at Iowa. Of course, everybody knows that Iowa doesn't really throw the ball to their receivers. So he left there and he went to Purdue and he was a receiver and now he's a running back and he's pretty good. I think Purdue is probably hitting a stride a little bit offensively now that they don't have to play Ohio State. One note about this game is that Syracuse played Purdue earlier in the season. That's where Tony White was last season, Nebraska's defensive coordinator. And that's where Tony White's mentor, Rocky Long, is now. So I think Rocky Long will be able to give White some pointers on how to slow down Purdue simultaneously. Purdue's had a bye week, and they got a chance to watch Nebraska. And so I think Purdue's probably going to come out with some wrinkles. Key number 3, boiled dinner. Now, have you ever had boiled dinner? A lot of people have not. It's like an old school meal. It's actually from New England. And it's when you take sort of a group of corned beef and cabbage and carrots, not usually potatoes, but sometimes, and turnips. And you kind of cook them together. And when you cook them together in the water, it makes kind of like a broth. And then you eat it. And it's boiled dinner. And it's perfect for a hot day or a cold day. Actually, it's when you normally make it. And it's going to be a 39-degree day, 35-degree day on Saturday. And it takes a long time to make boiled dinner because corned beef is not tender at the beginning of the meal. So this is what I mean by this key. Nebraska needs to pack a lunch for a long day. They're going to have to play hard, and they're going to have to try to cook Purdue over the course of 3 hours because I don't think that they're going to put Purdue down for the count until maybe the last 2 or 3 plays. You've got to turn this game to a slow boil, control the football, accept that you might give up a few big plays, accept that Purdue's going to hit you a few times, accept that you might turn it over 1 or 2 times, and somewhere in that fourth quarter, Nebraska is going to have to emerge. I would be very surprised if Nebraska has an 11 or a 20-point lead, a 13-point lead midway through the fourth quarter. This one's probably going to be closer. It's probably going to be more like Minnesota. I think Purdue is comparable to Minnesota in quality of team. They're not necessarily comparable in their style of play or what their strengths are. But I would anticipate this being that kind of game. It's going to be a 4-quarter game, and Nebraska's going to have to figure it out at the end, possibly in difficult conditions. Guess what? Half Nebraska's games were played in wind. And I think if you were to go down on that sideline and you were to survey Husker players and ask them whether they would want to play in Saturday's weather conditions against Purdue or the weather conditions that they played in against Michigan, where it's like 122 degrees on the field, they'd pick Purdue. This is the weather that you grow up wanting to play football in. And Nebraska's got a lot of guys, both from this state and from Big Ten country, who like just fine playing in this kind of weather. It's going to be kind of a hard-hitting, fun game. It's going to get a little dark by the end. It's going to get pretty cold, I suspect. It might even seep into your bones because cold and precipitation make for the most cold days of all. I think it's going to be a good one. I don't know that Nebraska's going to win. I think it's going to be a toss-up game. The Huskers are a 2.5-point favorite, and I think it's going to go right down to that. Somebody's going to make a field goal at the end. Somebody's going to make a play at the end, and there you be. Those are the 3 keys, though. Hit the jab. Stick the jab, right? Don't get mocked and boiled dinner. Nebraska can win this game, and if they do, man, they're so close to a bowl game. This is a big one. This might be the biggest game of the season in terms of the long postseason goals. We'll see if the Huskers are ready to win it. All right, that is our 3 keys for this week. Thanks, everybody. I'm Sam McKewon with the Omaha World-Herald and Husker Extra.